Here are the top stories for today, September 14, 2020. More jeepney routes are reopened today in Metro Manila. Social amelioration fund for next year, is it viable? Growing your own food at home, part of the new normal? And amid the pandemic, a centenarian celebrated her birthday in Negros Occidental. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Be extra vigilant. This is the call of the Department of Health in situations and areas where physical distancing cannot be practiced. The DOH made the call prior to the implementation of the relaxed physical distancing in public transport implemented by the Department of Transportation. Physical distancing measure enforced inside public transport units is 0.75 meters between commuters starting Monday before it could be further optimized to 0.5 or half a meter after 2 weeks and 0.3 meters after another 2 weeks. Strict health protocols is being enforced to contain the spread of COVID-19. As the reduced physical distancing requirement in public transportation started today, 28 more jeepney routes in Quezon City, Manila, Makati, and Muntinlupa reopened today. These routes that you see on your screen is based on the memorandum circular issued by the LTFRB. Jeepney operators would not be required to obtain a special permit, but their vehicles must display on their front windshield a printed copy of their QR code. The LTFRB has been gradually reopening jeepney routes in Metro Manila since June 1 to respond to the increasing demand of workers, employers, as well as public transport operators. Locally made products will be prioritized in the government's procurement. The government says this is one way of helping local industries severely affected by the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. According to Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles, the recently signed Bayanihan to Recover as One Act or Bayanihan 2 includes procurement provisions that give preference to locally made products, including construction materials for government infrastructure projects. He emphasized the importance of supporting Filipino businesses, particularly micro, small, and medium enterprises or MSMEs, to help save jobs and revive the economy. Nograles, meanwhile, advised the public to report manufacturers taking advantage of the Buy Local campaign by mislabeling their products and passing them off as Philippine-made. The Department of Trade and Industry earlier launched the Buy Local, Go Local campaign to promote patronizing Filipino products and services. Authorities in Marawi City are determined to speed up the reconstruction and rehabilitation of the city amid the modified enhanced community quarantine status. Let's find out more of Marawi's recovery projects from Christine Lynn Viajante of PIA Iligan.
Loud bangs of construction noise greet people upon entering the most affected area of Marawi, an implication of the city's full-blast rehabilitation that started last July amidst threats brought by the COVID-19 pandemic. As a result, Task Force Bangon Marawi put up a processing center where health and safety protocols of construction workers are double-checked before getting into the area to perform their duties.
Kaya nga tayo medyo naghihigpit sa checkpoint. At tayo, nagbibigay tayo ng mga IDs to ensure na yung mga authorized lang ang makakapasok sa loob. Sinusunod natin yung protocols ng IATF at may health certificate itong mga ito. Imagine kung nagkasakit yung ating mga trabahador dito, siyempre, mahihinto yung project natin.
On the other hand, to ensure that progress is underway, TFBM closely monitors all movement and phase of the reconstruction. Major projects such as Agos Bridge 1, Maritime Outpost, Grand Padian Market, Marawi City Jail, and the Integrated School Building, funded by the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management, Marawi Recovery, Rehabilitation, and Reconstruction Program.
Ang ating rehabilitation is total. Hindi lang to infrastructure, hindi lang to physical, ito pati pa sa livelihood, pati sa mga bata, sa education, pati yung mga spiritual natin.
In a hearing from the House of Representatives, TFBM Chairperson and Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development Secretary Eduardo Del Rosario reiterated that the government is right on track in rebuilding Marawi City.
We are saying that the Marawi rehabilitation will be completed by December of 2021, The different public infrastructures are now ongoing in the most affected area and even outside the ground zero of Marawi City.
For PNA Newsroom, Christine Lynn Viajante of PIA Iligan City Information Center.
Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon wants to include the funds for the Social Amelioration Program in the proposed national budget for next year. According to Drilon, government assistance for the indigent Filipinos must be extended next year as the number of poor families increased because of pandemic. Drilon is proposing for the continuation of cash aid amounting to 5,000 to 8,000 pesos to poor families next year. The proposed annual budget for next year is 4.5 trillion pesos. Drilon said he will ask the Senate Committee on Finance to look for excess funds in the budget that can be tapped to provide for SAP. Solidarity trials on COVID-19 vaccines might start by the last week of October. DOH Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere cited a timeline from the World Health Organization saying vaccines would be identified in the 3rd or 4th week of September, while the sites for the conduct of the trials would be identified by the end of September. The Solidarity trial is an international clinical trial to test the effectiveness of a possible vaccine for COVID-19. The Bureau of Immigration deported U.S. Marine Lance Corporal Joseph Scott Pemberton following his release from prison. Pemberton left the country on board a military plane for the United States at exactly 9:14 a.m. yesterday. Pemberton, who has made headlines after being convicted of killing transgender Jennifer Laude in 2014, has likewise been banned from re-entering the Philippines. BI Commissioner Jaime Morente said Pemberton has been placed in the Bureau's blacklist, perpetually banning him from coming back as a consequence of the deportation order against him. Morente said Pemberton has been in the BI's blacklist since September 16, 2015, when he was ordered deported by the Board of Commissioners for being an undesirable alien after being charged for murder and later being convicted of homicide. Various government agencies put up some measures to adjust to the new normal and to further extend their assistance to the public. Here is our report.
The Commission on Elections is eyeing at adopting a no personal appearance for voter registrants with passports. According to COMELEC Commissioner Rowena Guanzon, they are planning to let Filipinos abroad and in the country to register online in coordination with the Department of Foreign Affairs. Those who will be covered by the proposal are domestic and overseas voters. Meanwhile, the Department of Science and Technology has allocated some 89 million pesos for 18 collaborative research projects. Among the approved projects include those that focus on natural antibiotics, packaging technology for frozen durian, plasma coating processes for furniture industry, among others. In other news, the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority or TESDA offers a free skills retooling program for workers displaced by the COVID-19 crisis. TESDA Deputy Director General Aniceto Bertiz III said the agency has a wide range of highly specialized courses meant to enable laid-off workers to find new employment or self-employment opportunities. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Muaje.
Still to come, we will find out the perks of growing your own food at home, and the government returns the garbage being smuggled from other countries. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Sa matinding laban natin sa Coronavirus Disease 2019, sugpuin din natin ang pagkalat ng fake news. Huwag magbahagi ng impormasyon na hindi tiyak ang pinagmulan. I-check mabuti ang source ng balita. Kumuha lamang ng impormasyon mula sa mga official channel ng Department of Health. Huwag magpadala sa maling balita, basta't sama-sama at laging handa. Kaya natin to. Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito. Alamin kung paano ang tamang pagsusuot ng surgical mask. Una, hawakan ang mask sa strap at siguruhing natatakpan nito ang inyong bibig at ilong. Tandaan, ang may kulay na bahagi ng mask ang dapat nasa labas. Ito lamang ang tamang paraan ng pagsuot nito. Ihulma ang nose piece o maliit na metallic strip ayon sa hugis ng inyong ilong. Iwasan ang paghawak sa inyong ilong at bibig. Kung marumi na ang mask, hubarin ito gamit ang strap at itapon ito sa isang basurahan. Siguruhin ang maayos na paghuhugas ng kamay gamit ang sabon at tubig. Ang surgical mask ay dapat gamitin ng mga pasyenteng may sakit sa baga o mga taong mayroong ubo, sipon at lagnat, mga nag-aalaga sa mga may sakit, at mga healthcare at frontline workers. Maaari ring magsuot nito kung kayo ay pupunta sa matataong lugar. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. Urban container gardening is seen as one of the best solutions to address hunger and climate change. Urban gardening is a practical and uncomplicated method of growing plant-based food that doesn't require wide agricultural lands or even a backyard. It is a technology of home farming used to grow food in limited spaces in the urban areas to serve as a nutrition garden for the household. You simply need to repurpose or upcycle common household containers and utilize the space in your rooms, rooftops, or balconies. The Rotary Club of East Davao and the PICPA, with other participating organizations, recently conducted a free webinar on urban gardening. They say integrating clean and sustainable practices into our daily activities ensures safe food consumption, promotes a healthy lifestyle, reduces our waste products, and reduces our individual carbon footprints. The government will stay vigilant against the smuggling of foreign wastes into the country after successfully sending illegal garbage back to South Korea. Communications Secretary Martin Andanar described the return of South Korean waste to its origin as a victory that represented environmental and health justice for every Filipino. He said the hazardous waste could have affected millions of Filipinos if left unchecked and neglected. The PCOO chief lauded the Bureau of Customs for making the return of the smuggled garbage to South Korea possible. The government shipped back last month its last batch of South Korean trash dumped in Taguloan, Misamis Oriental. The assorted garbage, composed of 6,500 tons of plastic and other items, arrived here in July and October 2018. Last year, Duterte renewed his call to Canada to pull out tons of garbage, which was dumped in the Philippines from 2013 to 2014. The Canadian wastes were taken from the port of Subic last May 2019. The Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao has 189 new police officers who completed the Public Safety Basic Recruit course on Friday, including 34 who survived COVID-19. The 34 police officers and trainees defeated the disease after a 4-week hard lockdown inside the police training center. They were exposed to an Iligan city-based tailor who later tested positive for COVID-19. The graduates of PSBRC Class 2020 completed the 24-week course designed for newly appointed police non-commissioned officers. The commencement ceremony was held at Camp General SK Pendatun, Parang, Maguindanao, with Mayor Datu Pax Ali Mangundadatu of Datu Abdullah Sangki Town as the guest of honor and speaker. The ceremony was conducted without the usual presence of families and relatives of the graduates in observance of the COVID-19 health protocols. The public market of Vintar, ILOCOS Norte has been barricaded with precautions over the spread of COVID-19. Meanwhile, Cebu City's largest bus terminal is reminded to follow the city's quarantine curfew. More on these from Marita Buahe.
The local government of Vintar, ILOCOS Norte has intensified the monitoring of market goers by barricading the public market compound and manning its entrance. Local authorities encouraged the proper wearing of face masks properly and the use of face shields. The restriction was ordered following reports of the sudden spike of COVID-19 cases, particularly in neighboring Sarat. Vintar Mayor Larissa Fronda said the Vintar public market remains open even for non-Vintar residents, provided they obey health and safety protocols being imposed by the government. Meanwhile, the DILG in Central Visayas announced it is hiring contact tracers to be deployed to various local government units in the region. Contact tracers would be tasked to conduct case interviews, profiling, and perform an initial public health risk assessment of COVID-19 cases and their identified close contacts. Those who will be hired will augment the existing teams of the LGUs in Central Visayas. For further queries, interested applicants may send a message to the agency's official Facebook page, DILG7. In Cebu City, the city government has ordered the Cebu South Bus Terminal to follow the city's curfew amid the community quarantine. In his meeting with transport stakeholders on Friday, Mayor Edgardo Labella said the terminal should not operate from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. as the city's curfew policy remains in effect. Labella also ordered that health and safety protocols must be strictly followed at the terminal. The CSBT located along Natalio Bacalso Avenue reopened on Wednesday after 5 months of closure. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Muahe.
In our business news, collections for the first 8 months of 2020 surpassed the target set by the Development Budget Coordination Committee despite the economic downturn caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The combined collection of 1.636 trillion pesos by the BIR and BOC surpassed the DBCC's 1.52 trillion peso target by 7.17%. The Department of Finance, or DOF, said the two agencies collected 109.5 billion pesos to account for the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the global economy. The BIR and the BOC also exceeded the DBCC's set collection targets despite the curtailed economic activities in Metro Manila and nearby provinces of Bulacan, Laguna, Cavite, and Rizal from August 4 to 18 when these areas were placed under a strict modified enhanced community quarantine. Combined collections of the BIR and BOC reached 216 billion pesos in August, or 39.5% more than the DBCC target of 155.27 billion for that month. Up next, 10,000 jobs are open for displaced tourism workers, and a centenarian celebrated her birthday amid the pandemic. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Tandaan ang tamang paraan ng paghuhugas at paglilinis ng kamay upang makaiwas sa iba't ibang karamdaman. Basain ng tubig ang mga kamay at sabunin. Unang sabunin ang mga palad at ang likod ng mga kamay. Kuskusin na maigi ang pagitan ng mga daliri at maging ang mga kuko. Isunod ang pagitan ng mga hinlalaki at kuskusin ng paikot ang mga dulo ng mga daliri sa magkabilang palad. Banlawang mabuti ang mga kamay sa malinis na tubig at patuyuin ang mga kamay gamit ang single-use towel o air dryer. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito. Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases is discussing the appeal to lift the overseas deployment ban on healthcare workers. Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles on Saturday said the IATF has already coordinated with the Office of the President and President Rodrigo Duterte himself. He said the IATF has presented options to address the concerns of healthcare workers, mostly nurses, who already completed their overseas requirements but did not make the previous cutoff date of March 8. Under IATF Resolution number 23, only healthcare workers with perfected and signed overseas employment contracts as of March 8, 2020 are allowed for deployment abroad. Meanwhile, he called on all unemployed nurses and medical workers to consider the jobs offered by the government, particularly the Department of Health, which is currently seeking to augment the medical workforce responding against COVID-19. More than 10,000 jobs in the business process outsourcing industry would be made available to displaced tourism workers nationwide this month. The Department of Tourism, or DOT, in partnership with Concentrix Philippines on Friday, launched the virtual regional job fair titled Mabuhay Partnership, Overcoming Adversities Through New Opportunities. The job fair offers opportunities for tourism workers in the BPO industry, including part-time jobs and work-from-home arrangements. Applicants must be at least high school graduates, can comfortably converse in English and another foreign language, and have good computer skills, have problem-solving skills, and have a pleasant personality, especially when dealing with multiple concerns. The hiring process will be completed in less than 24 hours after a series of online interviews and assessments. Hired applicants will be compensated while on training. Interested applicants may check the DOT Facebook page and the Concentrix Philippines Facebook page. Saudi Arabia will partially lift its suspension on international flights from September 15, 6 months after travel restrictions were imposed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Saudi Interior Ministry says the kingdom will end all restrictions on air, land, and sea transport for Saudi citizens after January 1 next year. Gulf citizens and non-Saudis with valid residency permits or visas will be allowed to enter the kingdom from September 15 as long as they are not infected with the virus. Other exceptional categories include government and military employees. Foreign embassy workers and people requiring medical treatment will also be allowed. The ministry added that Saudi Arabia will later announce a plan to gradually allow the Umrah pilgrimage. Saudi Arabia suspended international flights in March, leaving many citizens and residents stranded overseas. The kingdom sought to contain a major spike in infections, which have risen to more than 325,000 cases and over 4,200 deaths. At least 150 members of the Communist Rebels Movement's underground mass organization and regulars of the New People's Army surrendered to government forces in Mawab, Davao de Oro on Friday. The former rebels burned the flag of the Communist Party of the Philippines and its affiliated organizations, as well as the effigy of rebel leader Joma Sison. They also signed a persona non grata declaration against the Communist Rebel Movement. The Army's 71st Infantry Battalion said of the 150 surrenderers, 10 were former NPA combatants, 40 were previously affiliated with the sangay ng partido sa lokalidad, 30 were former militiamen, and 70 were former mass supporters. Congressman Ruel Peter Gonzaga of the province's 2nd District asked the surrenderers to contribute to peace-building efforts and to stay loyal to the government. Police at a town in Negros Occidental celebrated the birthday of the oldest living Filipino. Personnel of Cabangcalan City Police Station in Negros Occidental greeted Francisca Montes Susano, who turned 123 years old on September 11 at her residence in Barangay Oringao. Lola Francisca was born before the Philippine independence and was able to witness 2 world wars. The Cabangcalan police personnel said she is a national treasure for also having gone through the martial law, the People Power Revolution, the ISIS attack, as well as many typhoons and calamities, and even the COVID-19 pandemic. The police wished her continued good health and happiness. Lola Francisca was one of the awardees under the Negros First Centenarian Act in 2015. The super centenarian could be named the world's oldest by the Guinness Book of World Records once her birth records are verified by the Gerontology Research Group. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. More jeepney routes are reopened today in Metro Manila. Social Amelioration Fund for next year, is it viable? Growing your own food at home, part of the new normal? And amid the pandemic, a centenarian celebrated her birthday in Negros Occidental. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, check our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I am William Theo. Good day and stay safe, everyone.